Hello, my name is Hannah and I'm the rector in Desborough, Braybrook, Frampton Ash and Dingley. And I'm recording this a couple of weeks before Holy Week, but it'll be going live in Holy Week, which of course is the week where we really focus in on the story of Jesus in the last week of his life before he was put to death on a cross. And of course we then, at the same time as looking at the cross and immersing ourselves in that, we also look with hope towards Easter. I've been reflecting quite a lot this Lent on the story of Jesus, and particularly his passion and his death, and what that means for me. And a word that's kept on coming up for me time and time again is the word surrender. You may know the hymn, all to Jesus I surrender, all to him I freely give. And it's a lovely hymn, but goodness me, if you really sing those words and you mean them, then you're a brave person, because it's so hard to do that. You know, what does that really mean? Am I really willing to surrender all my money to him? Am I willing to surrender all my time? What does that mean? And in terms of my own life and my role, particularly as rector in these parishes, something that's been going on for me, and as I've reflected on that question, has been how willing I am to surrender my right to having a good name, or my right to being liked, or it's not necessarily my right to be liked, but my longing to be liked, or my right to justice. How willing am I to surrender that? I often think of, in terms of the job that I do, that it's much more of a vocation than a job. But sometimes I think it's the best in the world. You know, on a good day, I couldn't imagine doing anything better. It's just wonderful when you see people coming to know the transformative love of Christ. We had our baptism service yesterday with little Lyra. Those of you that maybe watched that online, if you weren't there in person, it was the most joyful occasion, seeing just even a little one coming to faith, seeing how people came to that service and loved it and said, wow, if this is what church is like, then you know, I'm going to keep coming, because they just experience love and joy. Wow, that's wonderful. You know, those days leave you feeling, oh, it's all worth it. And then, you know, on another day, somebody comes to you in floods of tears and says, I need to talk to you. And they share with you something that they would never dare to share with anybody else. And you're invited to pray with them and to invite God into that situation. And wow, what a privilege. And sometimes it's hard experiencing and holding that kind of pain with someone, but it's also the most enormous privilege. And so on both of those kinds of days, it kind of feels like, yeah, that's why I do what I do, other than, I hope, because God has called me to it. And then there's other days that I think, oh, it's the hardest job in the world, and what am I doing? And I then look at Jesus and I think, you know, I wonder how often he must have felt like that. How often he had those days that were just wonderful, when, you know, people were healed and the disciples maybe came to a fresh realization in terms of wanting to follow him, and he might have felt, yes, you know, people are beginning to see what it means to live in my kingdom. And then, of course, days like the ones we're coming to right now, when he's betrayed, when his good name is dragged through the mud, when he's accused unjustly. And what does he do? He surrenders undefensively. He doesn't fight back. He surrenders. And so that's really impacted me, because there are times in this role when I make decisions that people don't like, or there are times when I do things or don't do things that upset people. Sometimes I'm aware of them, sometimes I'm not aware at all, and yet as a consequence sometimes my name gets dragged through the mud. Sometimes it feels as though I'm being accused of something and it's not fair, it's unjust. And I can get into a bit of a victim mentality about that, if I'm honest. And then we have weeks like this week, like Holy Week. And it's almost like God saying, surrender all. That's what Jesus did for us. That's what we are called to. And so as I go through this Holy Week, I'll be going to the service on Maundy Thursday when we are going to reflect again together what that Last Supper was like. I'll be going to the things on Good Friday and just be trying, probably not well, to imagine that first Good Friday, sitting in the empty space of Saturday, and then of course rejoicing on Easter Sunday. And I just hope that you'll come and join us for much of that. So the details of what's going on are on the website, and at all 4 of the churches there are things going on, particularly on Easter Sunday, but there's quite a lot going on through Holy Week and Desborough, and whichever church you worship at, I'd encourage you to come along and immerse yourselves again in that story. It's so important, I think, that we remind ourselves, what is it that Jesus has actually done for us, and what is it that he's calling us to do in response? For me, this Lent, it's about looking again at what it means to surrender all. That means surrendering my right to justice, surrendering my yearning to feel I have a good name amongst all, being willing to surrender all because of my love for Jesus. The hardest thing any of us can ever do, but the only thing that can truly, in the end, bring us life, the life that we'll celebrate on Easter Sunday. God bless you.